And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis. You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
Good morning, Car Clinic affiliates. Your Car Clinic minutes for the week of December 7th, 2015 are about to head your way, so be sure to press that record button. As always, thank you for listening to and broadcasting Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Have an excellent weekend.
Hi, I'm Bobby Likis with today's Car Clinic Minute. What beautiful markings! Wide streaks of yellow gold and platinum white. Don't think Van Gogh or Pollock, because when I come back, I'll paint a different picture. I'm Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about ethanol. Phase separation is the separation of gasoline and water in your tank, which can cause corrosion. All hydrocarbon gasoline with no ethanol can suspend about 0.15 teaspoons of water before it separates. E10 can suspend about 4 teaspoons. That's over 26 times more. I'm Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about ethanol. Brought to you by the Renewable Fuels Association. Broad bands of gold and platinum, some solid, some dashed, may conjure thoughts of expensive framed wall art, but I'm talking about the yellow and white of wider road markings. A recent Higher Highway Safety Standards survey suggests that increasing the current 4-inch wide norm may help to reduce the 42,000 annual crash-related deaths reported by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. In New Jersey, Florida, and Montana, where brightened center and side markings are now 6 to 8 inches, costly crashes are reduced, especially in areas of narrow or no shoulders, and a significant number of older drivers. Now that's the way to stripe it rich. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us. Hi, I'm Bobby Likis with today's Car Clinic Minute. When I say clean air, what comes to mind? Green meadows, ocean breezes, oxygen bars? Well, forget that and stay tuned, because when I come back, I'll tell you about some smoking clean air. I'm Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about ethanol. Phase separation is the separation of gasoline and water in your tank, which can cause corrosion. All hydrocarbon gasoline with no ethanol can suspend about 0.15 teaspoons of water before it separates. E10 can suspend about 4 teaspoons. That's over 26 times more. I'm Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about ethanol. Brought to you by the Renewable Fuels Association. A better place than an oxygen bar to suck in clean air is the racetrack. Clean air is a racing term for undisturbed air, the kind the lead driver enjoys when there's no one in front of him. So he cuts through the atmosphere like an aerodynamic knife through butter. On the other hand, dirty or turbulent air created when race cars are bunched together makes cars hard to handle. They slide in corners and weave on straights, like your car behind semis on the highway. That's why drivers try to avoid the pack during a race, so they can enjoy the cleanest air of all afterward, during the smoking victory lap. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us. Hi, I'm Bobby Likis with today's Car Clinic Minute. Lost in a dream, you feel the Pacific breeze. Hearing awards presented, you think you're in Hollywood. Can't be. There are no limos. Move over, Freud, because when we come back, I'll interpret your dream. I'm Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about ethanol. Americans are outspoken when it comes to choice, so why not at the pump? Opponents claim that drivers will be confused with choices like E15 and E85. This objection is confusing, as studies show that Americans do want a choice. Soon, blender pumps will empower consumers to tailor fueling options to include the ethanol level best suited to their needs. I'm Bobby Likis with 20 facts about ethanol, brought to you by the Renewable Fuels Association. Your dreams of an award ceremony, all right, but these winners don't stroll down the red carpet, they roll down. Not a single limo on the list. LA-based Auto Pacific just issued its vehicle satisfaction scores compiled from new car owners' ratings. The envelopes, please. For Compact Car of the Year, VW's new Beetle. Premium midsize, Nissan Altima. Large pickup, Chevrolet Silverado HD. And luxury SUV, Cadillac Escalade. See how your new car star ranks at autopacific.com. Reporting from the center of the automotive universe, this is Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us. Hi, I'm Bobby Likis with today's Car Clinic Minute. Love letters, facial expressions, and gestures are all nonverbal ways humans communicate. But did you know your car's engine is a sign language expert? Yep. When I come back, I'll translate its smoke signals. I'm Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about ethanol. American ethanol producers are fully engaged in the race to the next generation. Since the ethanol molecule is identical across sourcing types, many existing ethanol biorefineries are exploring bolt-on technologies that will enable production of ethanol from both grain starch and cellulosic material at the same facility. I'm Bobby Likis with 20 facts about ethanol, brought to you by the Renewable Fuels Association. Ancient civilizations communicated by smoke signals. Now you can use them to translate what your car's trying to say. Blue smoke indicates oil leakage, usually worn piston rings or valve seals. Black emissions say hydrocarbons or unburned gas from a too rich air-fuel mixture, stuck choke, or clogged air filter. And white exhaust could mean harmless vapor, like airplanes' contrails, or it could signal a blown head gasket. If all that sounds like Greek to you, seek the advice of the ultimate translator, your technician. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us. Hi, I'm Bobby Likis with today's Car Clinic Minute. Boy Scouts learn it to earn their Eagle badges, and if you know it, you may save a few Eagles of your own on dollar bills. Be prepared. When I come back, I'll tell you. I'm Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about ethanol. Octane rating is the measure of the anti-knock index of a motor fuel. Higher octane fuel, like pure ethanol at 113, withstands higher pressure and temperature before spontaneous detonation, which causes engine knock and damage. Ethanol also optimizes controlled combustion at the flame front. I'm Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about ethanol. Brought to you by the Renewable Fuels Association. Being prepared helps save two rare species, money and life. Every year, 1 in 11 Americans is involved in an accident, so listen up. Carry a jack, spare tire, jumper cables, and learn how to use them. Know what's in your insurance policy and who to call. Keep a card listing medical conditions and allergies. Invest in a cell phone. 911 services could be the stitch in time that saves 9 lives, that is. Go ahead, make your Scoutmaster proud. Earn your merit badge as a highway hero. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us.
Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 3-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 1-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 30-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 10-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question for Bobby, call now at 1-800-264-5454, toll free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
And thank you, Marty White. Good morning. Welcome to this edition of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. I hope that you are having a chilly morning, because it's a little chilly in the center of the automotive universe, although I have to say, here in the studios of Car Clinic Network, there's no such thing as the chill. That's just a lot of technology and a lot of cameras and a lot of microphones and a lot of car talk. Oh, I guess that would be yours truly. Allison will take your calls and put you in the queue at 888 Car Clinic. I'll make it easier for you. It's 888-227-2546. And when I come back from this commercial break, we have to have those commercial breaks, I will take your calls. I'm going to dedicate the program to you this morning, and I share information. I decided that I would give you more information on some topics that I have received information on and inquiries on this week. One, we talked about the anatomy of an oil filter, and I've never seen so many people so confused in all my life. What's inside an oil filter? When should you change your oil? is there any difference between brand white box oil filters and expensive oil filters? And there's a lot of questions and a lot of answers for you. Also, I have some trivia about a company you may have heard of, Turtle Wax. We'll tell you a little more about that as we go along. It's an interesting gentleman who founded it. And also Neil Kohler. We heard from Neil, who is a co-founder and director and chief executive officer of Pacific Ethanol. And we talked about ethanol subsidies. I have questions and your answers when I come back. Let's go to the Car Clinic mailbag. Here's a question from Jimmy in Jasper. Bobby, I was talking to a friend of mine who works at an auto dealership, and he told me oiled air filters are not recommended for new cars. I've been listening for many years, and I know K&N is a big sponsor of your show. Aren't K&N air filters oiled cotton? I'm confused. Is it okay to use them or not? Jimmy, great question. K&N is known for its washable, reusable, oiled cotton air filters, which for over 45 years have extensive data that prove they are a perfect match for all vehicles, older models to the latest. You can find out more at knfilters.com. K&N also offers a line of intake kits that use a non-oiled, washable, reusable filter called Black Hawk if you prefer the convenience of not oiling the filter after cleaning. Also, check out other products available from aemintakes.com, spectreperformance.com, and airraid.com. All companies in the K&N family. Your car and your life have a lot of moving parts, and your car battery is what keeps it all going. While all batteries may look the same on the outside, it's what's on the inside that matters. Choose a battery with PowerFrame technology inside. It's stronger, more durable, and keeps you going longer. That means you can count on a battery with PowerFrame to be there start after start. Batteries with PowerFrame grid technology are available at Advanced Auto Parts and CarQuest. Go to powerframe.com to find a store near you. Stant is the expert when it comes to radiator caps, thermostats, and fuel caps, supplying manufacturers as far back as Henry Ford's Model A. For OE performance, you can trust that Stant fuel caps will deliver. A leaking fuel cap is more than just the pain of a check engine light. Evaporating fuel costs money. Stant fuel caps are built so well they can even seal with part of the cap broken away, helping to keep you safe. They have locking caps too. Drive to Stant.com or your local retailer today. That's Stant.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Like Shakespeare, we ask the question, what's in a name? Ours is pretty blah. We're Geico, not to be confused with Gecko, a small tree lizard. And no, Geico doesn't have a sister company named Girlco. So, in the absence of a perfect name, focus group tested for hipness, we offer car insurance at a fair price. In 15 minutes, you could save 15%. Call 1-800-947-AUTO, 1-800-947-AUTO. Our name may not be cool, but saving money always is. Geico Direct, the sensible alternative.
Another lending success story from LendingTree.com.
I tend to put things off. For example, I put off getting a home equity line of credit for a while. Then one day, when I should have been doing my laundry, I went to LendingTree.com. I filled out one simple form and got 4 offers back within hours. Then I chose the line of credit that was right for me. Who knows? I may even get around to using it someday.
When banks compete, you win at LendingTree.com. Equal housing opportunity. For additional information and state license disclosures, please visit our website located at LendingTree.com.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
Okay, let's get started with this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. This segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you by K&N, the original performance air filter of NASCAR. Superior air flow, superior performance. Drive to knfilters.com for more. For lots more. For lots more air. The air that you can breathe and your engine breathes. You know, folks, a lot of times people ask me, well, you know, what about the fuel that I use? Should I use a high-octane fuel in my low-octane engine? What kind of oil should I use in my automobile? How often should I rotate the tires? Why does it cost so much to fix my car? That's probably I've got those reversed order there. That's, you know, in my world is in the automotive service and repair, and for some 44 years, and then here on Bobby Likis Car Clinic and the network side for some 24 years. And the question usually is, we had a gentleman come in yesterday. It was a new customer, and he said his brakes were making noise. Well, I mean, I mean, this was a no-brainer. I mean, you step on the brakes and it's grinding, and sure enough, there no aligning, no pad left on the pad whatsoever, and the actual brakes wore all the way down to where. And what happens when that happens? Well, when the material goes away, the friction material, then you get down to bare metal against metal, and the car doesn't know. It just, metal doesn't stop well on metal, but it sure makes a lot of noise. So we tore it apart, and this vehicle had over 200,000 miles on it. The brakes didn't have over 200,000. They'd been obviously replaced at one point in time, but the calipers were the original ones. And on the driver's side, the caliper was had ruined the caliper because it had gotten so deeply into, and the heat had gotten into the seals, and we tried to retract the pistons. And by the way, when you step on the brake pedal, you just push fluid under pressure in pistons, just like a syringe, just like literally. If you can think of a doctor or someone injecting you with medicine, that's exactly how brakes work. You step on the brake pedal, a piston pushes brake fluid, and that brake fluid goes through a flexible hose, and it has to be flexible because you have the steel brake line on the car, and you have the caliper on the wheel, and the wheel and the car move all the time. They move independently of each other. So you have to have the brake hose, and so that's how all that works, and in the simplest of explanations. And it was kind of neat that he says, then he says, well, yeah, and I need it back can you have it back in 4 hours? This is before we ever took the wheels off and looked at the car. And we said, well, we can guarantee you that we can give you that answer after we look at the car, but we can't guarantee you we get beforehand. And anyway, it was like, this was 8 o'clock in the morning, and it wasn't noon, it wasn't 1. We actually had to buy the calipers out of our city, and we had those delivered to us, got them about 3:30, but we had done all the prep work, put new rotors, and we elected to put all new calipers and new rotors on the front of the vehicle, and of course all new pads too, versus just repairing one side. Now, you never would put one pair of brakes on, but you might put one caliper if you had one caliper that was damaged. But at more than 200,000 miles, we didn't know what the other side and how far away it would be. So to play it safe, because it's a brake, and we spent a little extra money, in which we advised him that we do, and I started to say we gave him the option, but there wasn't much of an option because we knew better. We were the doctor in this case. And the bottom line, the job just came out just perfect. I mean, we drove this car, and it was like smooth as butter. I mean, it's one of those things that, and not the butter that you get out of the refrigerator, but it's been sitting out long enough that you can spread it, okay? And that really, really feels great when you are successful like that. So if you have a car that needs brakes, and you hear this grinding noise, it doesn't have to be brakes. It could be anything. In fact, if you go to our Pinterest, Pinterest.com/Bobby Likis, Likis, you will see on our board, the Pinterest board, pictures. I think this was a week or maybe a couple of weeks ago, where we had a grinding noise, and this car only had 18,000 miles. Now, this was a new car. It had 18,000 miles, maybe a year old, a year and a half. And nothing was wrong with the brakes, the calipers, the rotors, the pads, beautiful. But there was a piece of wood in there about half the size of your finger, your little pinky, wedged in between the pad and the rotor. And of course the wood sort of, I guess it solidified, for lack of a better word. It certainly was so, it had wedged so deeply that it wasn't going anywhere, and it made a lot of noise. And with all the debris that's from the road, when you touched the brakes, it was a real serious scraping noise. And so literally we just went in there and relaxed the caliper. And how do you relax the caliper? Well, you force the piston back in, and then the pads have room to play. And then when the room was there, we plucked out the piece of wood, and then sent the customer on her merry way. And she was happy camper because we didn't really spend any money. I think the job was 3/4 of an hour at the most, including from the time that we road tested it and inspected it and took it apart, only to find that there was a debris from the road. And then one of my teammates here, I think it was Jonathan, who it takes care of a lot of things in the house there with Kevin and Allison. And Allison will take your calls, by the way, at 888-CAR-CLINIC. That's 888-227-2546, and she'll put you in the queue, and I'll put you on the air. And Jonathan said, well, how did that get in there? Well, and the first thought that I had was in a hurricane. We've all seen pictures of, I've never seen this happen. Well, I'll take that back, close to it, where in a tornado, where a straw can go through a door, a 2-inch wooden door, a straw. And you say, oh, there's no way, but there's way. And it's just the force and the instant force. And to that end, in 2004, our community had a hurricane. Ivan was a significant hurricane, was not a good experience, and nothing about it was good except what happened afterwards, and that was our community came together and we rebuilt. And I can categorically tell you that, and I live in Pensacola, Florida. Our studios are right here inside our automotive service shop, and the studios are really nice. I invite you to come by, and if you're ever in the center of the automotive universe, if you're traveling to the state of Florida, regardless of where you're from, and we get quite a few people to come through, I'll take you for a tour here in the studio, which is the place to be if you have another Ivan. But I will tell you that our fair city has changed for the better, and so I guess you can't fool with Mother Nature, but once Mother Nature does her job, then I can assure you that you just follow along in the way that we as human beings, which are just about that big in the big scheme of things, and do what you have to do to get over it. And I think that, so I want to congratulate us, ourselves, our Pensacolians, and those on the Gulf Coast, of course, along the Gulf Coast, for their to endeavor and to persist and to put their lives back together, because so many people, we had 48,000 homes that had blue roofs on them. What's a blue roof? It's a tarp that FEMA puts over a home to keep the water out after a real bad storm. So anyway, that's a little history and a little information that I wanted to share with you from a personal standpoint, and also to give you an opportunity to know a little more about what we do. Let's go to Kansas and take a call. Alan, and thanks for holding, Alan. I saw you there on the screen. Good morning. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Thank you, Bobby. I enjoy your show.
Thank you.
Hey, I've got the other day I was had a fuse go out on my '08 Ford F-150, and I got in there to check the fuses. Anyway, I ended up dropping a fuse down in that black hole. And anyway, I reached my hand down in there, and there's water. About 3 or 4 inches of water collected down in there. Wow. I didn't know that they designed a drain plug that's supposed to, I'm sure we've had a lot of rain. It had to come from the outside, but is there a drain plug located there to get rid of that water?
Well, Alan, you're talking about the fuse box under the hood of the vehicle, correct?
No, this is down there on the passenger side.
No drain hole, because no water should come through there. That's a sealed unit on the where it goes through the bulkhead, which is the firewall, where any time you have a wire or a cable or a group or bulk of wires, you'll have a rubber grommet that and when I say rubber grommet, it's like a teardrop where it has like a ring around the collar, and you, from one side or the other, you pull the wire through, and then you pull on the grommet, and the grommet pops through. Alan, stick around. When I come back, got a hard break here, and I'll pick up where we left off, and I see Chuck is calling from Kansas as well. Folks, 888-227-2546 when I come back. In the service bay this week is a 2010 Nissan Frontier. According to its owner, fuel economy is down and the vehicle is hesitating upon acceleration. Typically, this model vehicle can suffer from engine deposits for a variety of reasons. With no diagnostic codes or check engine light to work with, engine fuel trim is telling the tale. Our conclusion? Carbon buildup on the throttle body, intake valves, and piston tops. The answer? New Fuel Pro Complete from Motor Medic. Not your everyday fuel system cleaning kit. Fuel Pro Complete cleans both fuel and intake sides of the system. Most fuel system cleaners only clean through the gas tank. Fuel Pro Complete also cleans through the vacuum line. For newer cars, it cleans the top of GDI engines. For older cars, Fuel Pro Complete tackles traditional fuel system cleaning and intake cleaning. Visit FuelProComplete.com for a demo video and port locator with a list of vehicle makes and models. That's FuelProComplete.com. I'm Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about ethanol. Improving ethanol production efficiencies in concert with new farming technologies means the energy benefits of ethanol continue to grow. In recent research, the U.S. Department of Agriculture determined ethanol's energy balance to be 1.7 to 2.3. That's to say, today's ethanol production yields nearly twice as much energy as it took to create the gallon. Also, ethanol's chemical composition means a more complete, cleaner burn of fuel in vehicle engines. Increasing ethanol use in gasoline is directly leading to cleaner air and fewer toxic tailpipe emissions. In 2011, ethanol use reduced tailpipe CO2 equivalent emissions by 25.3 metric tons, equivalent to the emissions of 4 million vehicles. I'm Bobby Likis with 20 facts about ethanol, brought to you by the Renewable Fuels Association.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
The airlines like to have sales. Summer getaway sales, holiday sales, winter sales. Truth is, at any moment, some airline somewhere is on sale with low fares to great destinations. Travelocity knows exactly what's going on, who's on sale, to where, and when, at over 700 airlines worldwide. We even have this nifty feature that lets you look at a calendar so that you can see exactly the days the great fares are available. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere. AOL keyword, travel.
Hung. Guess my temperature.
It's 2 a.m. Go to sleep.
Come on, one guess.
I'm 98.
Higher.
Higher at 99.
You're getting warmer. Wait, I'm getting warmer.
Cold symptoms keeping you from getting a good night's sleep? Get NyQuil, the nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, stuffy head, fever so you can sleep better to feel better medicine. Use as directed.
One more guess.
100.
Yes. Tell her what she's won, Bob.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. As I mentioned earlier, Allison will take your calls and put you in a queue, and I will put you on the air. If you have a question or make it easy on yourself. And I'll tell you, folks, the only dumb question, and I have people walk up to me all the time and say, I heard that call the other day, and it was a dumb question. I said, no. The only dumb question, car question, is one not answered. One not asked. Well, I can answer one that's not answered. But the bottom line, that's what I'm here for, and I don't know all the answers, but I can give you a sense of direction, and that's really what what our goal is. So we're talking with Alan from Kansas, and Alan, the fuse box inside you reached down dropped that fuse in that black hole, which to me sounds like something that I've done I don't know how many times, and that what's down there, and you reach down there and you find all sorts of things. I actually found one time we had in a new car, we had this beer can or a Coke can, and there was a note in it. This is a true story. And the factory worker, when they built that car, they put that Coke can in that door, and there was a note that said, "Glad you found me." And the customer was complaining every time he turned left or took off or started, this Coke can would roll around in the door, and it was kind of funny. But let's get back to your fuse box. That box, the wires for that fuse box or that box could have a male-female counterpart that goes around the firewall. but there's water leaking there, so there's water that's getting into that fuse box, and that's the kiss of death, because water is corrosive to wires, as you know.
Absolutely.
So what did you do, or have you done anything?
Well, I haven't done anything yet. I was hoping. I didn't know what to think. I've never ran into anything like that. But so you think one of those rubber grommets is missing on the front firewall, or?
Well, yeah, I think it. Yeah, you need to look more closely. Here are my thoughts. You know, there could be that the water's coming from above the fuse box, and then running around and into the fuse box from the cowl or the firewall or the windshield area of the car. So that's a given. I mean, not a given, but that's a one option. Now, here's what I would do. I would take a flashlight, and I think this would probably be easier than hopefully. Take a flashlight and look for ring around the collar. When I say ring around the collar, look for evidence of where water has run down. You know, if you sprayed Windex on a glass and you didn't wipe it off and you came back, you could see where you sprayed it because it would leave stain. Well, when water enters a place it shouldn't be, and what I have in my mind, I'm thinking of more specifically, is fuel. If you have one of those fuel leaks that you smell but you can't find, you know, it's because it's so minor that by the time you get the car on the rack and jack it up, that whatever leaked on fuel has evaporated. But you'll be able to see where it ran down the frame and cleaned up, you know, some of the grease and grime off the frame, or it just made its own little marks like ring around the collar. So I would, if I were you, definitely number one, get that water out of there. Did you do that with a towel or something?
Well, I haven't yet. I just discovered it here yesterday.
Well, do that. Do get it out of there and leave the cover off that if it's covered so it can evaporate, because that moisture in there is pretty bad. I mean that can cause some damage. So
yeah, I thought I'd take one of those suction guns and suck it out of there.
Yeah, anything. Do that, and then look real closely. And thanks for your call. Appreciate hearing from you.
Hey, Bob, I had one more question.
Okay, sir.
I've got a 65 and a 66, the F600 Ford trucks.
Right.
And anyway, I want to swap transmissions on those two. Do you think I could? They're both the F600 series. They're both 4-speeds. Do you think they would interchange?
I would go to immediately. I would say probably, and what I would do is go to a local recycling yard. We used to call them junk yards years ago, but you know that's not politically correct anymore. So a recycling yard, and ask them to look in their catalog for replacement transmission or fitment. And even though you're not asking for one, you could say, does this transmission one fit the other? Because you see, when they look for a transmission for your 65. And they can find one, and the book says a 62 through 67 are all the same with this type of engine, then yes, they would be able to pinpoint and know your answer. That help?
That's good.
Okay, my friend. Thanks for your call. Hey, folks, and Chuck, you stay right there. I'm going to come to you. But recently, Neil Kohler, who is a co-founder and director and chief executive officer of Pacific Ethanol, joined me on Car Clinic. And my discussion with Neil stirred quite a few calls regarding ethanol, specifically the topic of subsidies. And to that end, I asked Neil that very question. Let's take a listen to what he had to share. I get questions from Car Clinic listeners about subsidies. So I would like for you to help me to better understand how to answer that question.
grain, since the renewable fuel standard came around, to all of the grain that's used in ethanol. So we actually have increased the supply beyond what ethanol is using, and that has been good news for, and feeding the world. But it's feeding the world's animals, because the corn we use is not even a human food.
Exactly.
It's inedible. You try to eat the corn that we turn into ethanol, you knock your teeth out. But it is used to feed animals. And that's the other piece of this story that, it's amazing how many people that, are well-read don't appreciate this fact. And when I'm, around the barbecue or in the cocktail conversations where, we take the real feed value of that corn, the protein, the fats, the minerals, we concentrate that and ship that to the animals. So we take corn, which, it's been historically so cheap, it's been fed to animals, it's been part of that economy. But, cows weren't designed to eat corn. But they do need protein, they do need fat, and we essentially pre-digest that corn in a way that makes it much more valuable as a feeding component to the animals. And that's, it's not a byproduct, we call it a co-product. And in our plants in California, we ship more truckloads of feed out of our plants than we do ethanol.
That's amazing. That is truly amazing, and history will provide you that Henry Ford's first car, the quadricycle, in 1896 ran on 100% ethanol, and he made the first flex fuel car, Model T, in 1908. If you also look at John D. Rockefeller and how he politically and financially supported Prohibition, it was more than just keeping liquor out of the mouths of individuals that drank too much. It was keeping ethanol off the market as well. I fight the war every day, and I applaud you for doing the same thing. I'll have to get you into Car Clinic Studios perhaps one day and take questions from these folks that call me, and social media. We had a social media yesterday. The same question came up about the subsidy, and that was why I wanted to make sure that I was online, that there were no subsidies for ethanol, and whereas they were, in my studies, $37 billion in the U.S., but something like $775 billion globally to big oil. And I think...
Oh, it's unbelievable.
It is unbelievable. I will let you go, my friend.
Yeah.
I thank you so much for your time.
Bobby, and I really appreciate your efforts, and you seem very well informed, and we need more people like you communicating the truth. The other, I mentioned it a couple times, and, being in the car world, this octane equation is, I'm sure it's something you're stressing as well, but is truly... a massive opportunity. We've been having some pretty meaningful conversations with the car companies, who haven't always been, they kind of resisted E15, and, they got subsidies to do the credits to do the E85, but, they haven't really been that focused on advancing the industry. But right now, they're looking at this 54.5 miles per gallon that they signed up for. And they're saying, hey, we need you. We need 20, 30% of you in our tanks, because we want to produce the engines that will get the efficiency. We need that octane.
And there you have it. Thank you. Thank you, Kevin. So that was a conversation that I had with Neil Kohler, the co-founder and director and CEO of Pacific Ethanol. And when I come back, I'll take a call from Nevada from Captain Jim, and I'll take your call at 888-227-2546. And Chuck, we're going to talk about oil filters because we know you had a question. Don't go away. Don't touch your dial. I'll be back. From the Car Clinic inbox, James writes, I recently noticed the front tires on my Subaru are worn, but rear tires seem okay. Can I change just 2? James, today's vehicles run on the sum of their parts to make themselves whole. Traction control, analog brakes, crash avoidance systems all require key information from your vehicle's tires. If you're driving an all-wheel drive vehicle, then tires are especially critical in ensuring the all-wheel drive system does its job and keeps you safe. Changing just 2 tires instead of 4 can compromise all-wheel drive operation and, in some vehicles, even cause wear and damage to the all-wheel drive components. When replacing tires, always check tread depth and condition. Rotate your tires at required intervals and check owner's manuals for specifics. Drive to GeneralTire.com to learn about the new Grabber HTS 60, featuring General Tire's newest wear improvement technology that improves tread life up to 25% over the original Grabber HTS. That's GeneralTire.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Waking up can be a chore, but morning's knocking on my front door. know just what I'll do. Put on a pot of Folgers brew. Mountain grown aroma hits the spot. Helps me give all that I've got. An opportunity to stand out smiling and happy. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
Good night, Prevotella. Good night, Actinomyces. Good night, Streptococcus.
Germs, millions of them. They've been building up in your mouth all day, and some of them can even lead to the gum disease gingivitis. Say goodnight with Listerine. Just 30 seconds of Listerine before bed kills germs, even germs that can cause gingivitis. Use Listerine every night and go to sleep with a healthier mouth. See your dentist. Use as directed when brushing and flossing aren't enough.
If you're familiar with the cultivated section of the newspaper, you probably understand this message quite well. You see, in the cultivated section, everything gets abbreviated. Consonants, vowels, prepositional phrases, the very building blocks of our language are thrown right out the window. And that makes it difficult when you're trying to sell your car. You've got a limited amount of space to work with, and by the time you abbreviate the description of your car down to a couple of fragmented sentences, it sounds less like a car and more like a Bluck sedan with sniffed like new condition limos. No wonder more people are selling their cars through eBay Motors. They can post unlimited text and photo descriptions, and with a nationwide marketplace, they're likely to sell it for more. Plus, both parties can be covered by eBay's vehicle protection program. Buyers are happy, sellers are happy, and no one's abbreviating. eBay Motors, a better way to sell your car.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. So during the break, of course, we run commercials, as you hear. And then during some of our breaks, the last minute, for instance, of that break, our local stations insert their commercials. And so rather than to just play music, which we at one time did years and years ago when we were new at this, so that you wouldn't hear, if the local station didn't have a commercial, you would not just hear nothing, because you can't have dead air in radio. And so we have these as commercial, and this one's about eBay Motors and the marketplace. And so I don't know if you've heard that or not, but every time, and Kevin, thanks for continuing to air that. I don't know, folks, if you've heard it or not, but one of these days we have to just single that out. And so do that, Kevin. Make a note of that. Let's do that next week.
Will do.
And single that out, because from a standpoint, from a talent standpoint of voicing a spot to where it's something more than just a commercial that you tune out. This gentleman does a well of a job, and I was asking Kevin, I wonder how many times that he actually had to voice that spot, because
probably dozens.
It's about abbreviation,
you
know. Yeah. And anyway, I certainly won't try to follow his act, but I want you to hear it. We'll take a call from Nevada, and then we'll go to come back to Florida with Mike, and then we'll take your calls at 888 Car Clinic, and then I'm going to give you a best practices for oil filter usage that Chuck had asked for, specifically about should you or should you not pre-fill an oil filter. And the information that I have comes from machinery.com, and it's a well-known R&D with regard to lubrication processes and those sorts of things. Okay, let's go to Nevada. Captain Jim, good morning. It's great to hear your voice coming up.
Well, good morning, Bobby. It's great to talk to you.
How have you been, sir?
I've been just fine, just fine. I have going back to your ethanol gasoline and the fellow you just had on.
Right.
As you know, I have a motorhome, and I get motorhome magazines, and I have one here where they have it's called Tech Savvy, and it's where people can write in and ask this fellow, a fellow much like you, different things about motorhomes.
Right.
And this article did catch my eye, where a fellow writes in, and the caption is "Gummy Gasoline Genset," and he goes on to say, "We have a 2011 Itasca Sun Cruiser with a Cummins gasoline generator, model so and so."
Right.
Where where is the fuel filter, excuse me, I can't read. Where is the fuel filter for the genset? Does it feed off of the main tank? And anyway, he wants to know because he's had to replace a carburetor already because it's gummed up on him. And here is the answer, and this is, I know, going to get you frothing at the mouth probably. It says the fuel for the generator does come from the motorhome's main tank. And I should have put my glasses on, fuel pickup locations are designed so that it'll only draw 1/4 of the tank so that you can't run your motorhome out of fuel if you leave the genset on.
Right.
Now, here's the part. The reformulated ethanol-laced E10 gasolines are causing havoc with small engines all over the country. Now, he put that statement in there. And then he goes on to say that you could put a fuel shutoff valve and run the gas out of your generator or put a stabilizer in. I just thought, you know, that's the mentality that a lot of these people have. And this guy's supposed to be an expert.
Well, you couldn't put a stabilizer in because you'd have to stabilize the complete fuel system. I mean, it draws from the main system. So if you've got a 100-gallon tank, you have to buy a stable. It'd be great for a stable. It'd be great for the seller of the product. Let's take first things first. And always great to hear from you. Number one, the same storage practices for ethanol blended fuel, and you notice the word he used, ethanol laced, like it's a drug, like you got a perfectly healthy something and then somebody laced it with drugs. So that gives you an automatic indication of the mindset of the individual. And I'll be glad to debate anyone on ethanol because we've had more than 200,000 cars and small trucks through our service shop in the 44 years and never had one problem with a vehicle directly caused by ethanol. Now, we've had a lot of carburetor problems back when we had carburetors because gummy gasoline is a fact of life. And that's why you do use stabilizer in a car that is stable. And so, number one, so I disagree with the use of stabilizer. I do agree that he might consider a shutoff valve to run that generator out of gasoline, and here's why. It draws whatever it needs, and then then you have a small amount of gasoline with ethanol in it in the carburetor. You could take the ethanol out and still have the same problem with gasoline to turning to gum, because we had problems with gasoline before ethanol ever came on the market, and we always will, because it is a liquid that has a shelf life. So if he could solve the problem by installing a shutoff switch, which would really be a pain in the neck, but you could do that. I disagree with that, because anytime you add a connection to a fuel system, you add another chance for something to leak, number one. Number two, that shutoff would have to be very, very solid, because the fuel pump for that generator is, I would imagine, a little small electric pump, and it's triggered when you go to start the generator. So I guess there would be no problem, since the generator is not running, there'd be no problem trying to pull a vacuum on the tank. So that's not an issue. I'm just trying to think through his rationale. I say the writer's rationale. But I will say this, Mercury Marine, and this is, I could send white papers to anyone. Mercury Marine, 5 of their chemists and physicists and whatever titles that they have, and there's a list of the individuals at Mercury Marine. In fact, it's New Brunswick. Brunswick is the parent company that owns Mercury Marine. And they actually make the statement that after the transition from E0, straight gasoline, ethanol was 0, to E10, a fuel tank will run drier than it did before, because ethanol can suspend 26 times more water than gasoline. So now we've got people saying, oh, well, yeah, it causes phase separation. That's, without getting into a lot of explanation here, I will tell you this. Gasoline can suspend 0.15 teaspoons of water before phase separation, which means that you could probably put 3 ounces of water in a tank of straight gasoline, and it would be suspended by the gasoline. It wouldn't hurt anything. Maybe 2 ounces. I've never done the math. On the other hand, ethanol can suspend 4 teaspoons or 26 times. And here's the bottom line. At 70 degrees Fahrenheit and 70% relative humidity, it takes 2.7 months for gasoline to phase separate. That's with air that goes in, like say you have a boat and you have air that goes in and out, and the condensation gets on the walls of the empty part of the tank. That's where this comes from. It's not the fuel at all. It's a condensation, and that's something that's a fact of life. So 2.7 months, 26 times 2.7 is a little better than 5.5 years. So the same scenario that would phase separate gasoline would take 5.7 years to phase separate with E10. And those are the facts. And so to hear people say, yeah, this phase separation, it draws water, there's no process of any kind. There's no arms, legs, or fingers or chemical process in ethanol that makes it reach out and grab water. Instead, the condensation that occurs on the changing temperature does create moisture inside a fuel tank. That's why we say when you're storing a car, you should have it 95% full and then put a stabilizer in it, and now you've got less surface that is exposed for condensation. And then I'll close with this, Captain Jim. In my Porsche, which is not 30 feet from where I'm sitting, it is a 1980 model. I do not drive this car because it is perfect, and well, nothing's perfect. It's really nice. It's really beautiful. It has in its tank E10, and that E10, that car has been filled with fuel twice in the last 7 years. And to that end, the challenge is I don't drive this car, so if I fill it, the gas gets old. But I use E10 in it just so that I know that I've got proof for me that what I believe in and the facts that I know are correct, and I've got it in real life form by this car that is parked not just outside I can open my studio door, and equidistant from my desk here to the studio door is the Porsche that is as shiny and new. It's a 1980 model, and it's not even approved for ethanol, and it's an 80 model, and it has the original fuel injectors. I've had this car since 1986, and I bought it from a cousin who bought it when it had 3,000 miles on it, had never been driven in the rain, and they only made 406 of these, called a Weissach, W-E-I-S-S-A-C-H. So anyway, I really appreciate you sharing that with me, and it is an issue. Myths and half-truths are what drives the or naysayers. And I've had friends that call me, and I can assure you there are people right now listening say, well, Likis, I've got a friend who lives across the street from a friend who has a boat, and that stuff ruined his boat motor. When you have, and I'll close with this because I'm going to go to Mike, but Captain Jim, when you have a lawnmower, a weed whacker, or a fixed jet engine that was designed to run on straight gasoline, the air-fuel ratio changes when you put ethanol, because ethanol contains, for every molecule of ethanol, there's 35% oxygen. So when you put oxygen, when you put air fuel that you mix with the sides of a jet, you've got the air fuel ratio that engine is designed to run with. Now you're putting air in with the liquid gasoline because it has oxygen in it. Then you change the air fuel ratio. So you could take any carburetor fixed jet engine and it would run too lean with ethanol, and the more ethanol, the leaner it would run. How do you fix that? Well, you either don't run it or you rejet it. And people don't know how to rejet carburetors, but in essence, that's how easy it is. And to that end, if you look at manufacturers of lawnmowers and weed whackers now, we've come a long way. We've had ethanol in our engines since late 70s. So that's 35 years. But there's no doubt Big Oil has a lot of money. And I'm not against profit, although it is a mystery to me how they can make record profits at $2.50 a gallon. How much money were they making at $4.50 a gallon? It's hard to imagine. Hey, my friend, I thank you, and I'm going to go to Mike. Next time you call in, would you share with us one of your John Wayne stories again?
I would be happy to.
Okay.
And I'm going to send this fellow a letter, but I'm going to email you first to get a little backup, if that's all right with you.
If any way that I can help you, I will, because I just appreciate your confidence in me, and I'll be more than happy to send him white papers. And if you think that the manufacturers aren't looking toward the high-octane properties of ethanol to meet the CAFE mandates of 54.5 mpg, I mean, the world is changing, and there are just some people that don't want to change.
With it.
Yeah. Hey, thank you, my friend.
Okay, great talking to you.
My pleasure. Captain Jim from Nevada. Now go to Mike. Mike, thank you for holding.
Hey, Bobby.
Hey, sir.
Hey, listen, I'm sitting here with the widow of Mopar Dave. You might have known him here in Pensacola. She's got a Raider. Anyway, she's got a 03 Toyota Chrysler Town and Country.
Yes, sir.
And she came over yesterday, and she said that this little red light was on the dash there. Well, I got the book out, and it doesn't show anything about that light except on page 161 that talks about the arming of the doors, that little light that blinks, that little red light.
Okay. I was wondering which red light. So you're talking about the security system.
The thing about it is, she said she saw that it was on steady, and the only thing I could think of is that for some reason or other, one of the door switches that talks to that arming system may not have closed, and that caused that thing to just stay on steady rather than blink. What do you think about that?
I think that there's a ground system somewhere. You could be partially right. I think it is in a wiring, but it could also be in that module. And so what I would do, of course, and you may have already tried this, Mike, is to open and close all doors, lock and unlock using the key fob, and standing outside the vehicle and look at that light, because what happens if she continues to allow that red light to glow and she doesn't drive that vehicle every day, it will run the battery down. And with that, we've run the time out for this hour. But folks, another great hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic coming up, and I promise I'm going to open with oil filter practices, so don't touch your dial. I'll see you after the break.
This is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
Today's new product spotlight is on Denso's Iridium TT spark plugs. Your vehicle's spark plugs deliver the electric current necessary to ignite the fuel that runs your engine. But not all spark plugs are the same. Denso is proud to introduce the Iridium TT spark plug. The Iridium TT's two tips, the twin tip, allow the spark plug to create the largest spark concentration and explosion for more power, superior fuel economy, and fewer emissions. And fewer emissions help protect our environment, while fewer visits to the pump save you money. Denso's Iridium TT spark plug is designed to last beyond 100,000 miles. The patented formula features the highest iridium concentration of any spark plug and outperforms in the most severe engine temperatures, resisting oxidation and voltage wear. Denso has the tradition of innovation. Using their OE expertise, Denso products are manufactured to give you the right part and the right fit the first time, every time. Learn more about Denso's Iridium TT spark plugs at densott.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Bob, what's new?
Last month I'm in Africa. When this wildebeest charges me, we butt heads and he's history. After I pull my guide from the jaws of an alligator, I dig into some beef jerky. I get heartburn. I take out my Rolaids as I'm fighting off a wild boar. In under 10 seconds it starts working. Then the boar is bye-bye. My heartburn's gone.
Rolade starts working in under 10 seconds? You expect me to believe that?
It's true. Rolade starts neutralizing acid in under 10 seconds. ROLAIDS spells relief. Use as directed.
While Johnny Kim was getting ready for the first customers of the day, someone else was looking at Larger's face for his growing business. At 3 o'clock, while the Curtis family was watching their daughter's soccer game, someone else was walking a prospective tenant through one of their apartment buildings. And while Carmen Delabar was preparing for a fashion show, someone else met with an appraiser about her investment property. You've got a life. We let you live it. We're realtors. Real estate is our life.
Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 3-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 1 minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 30-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 10-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question for Bobby, call now at 1-800-264-5454, toll free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
And good morning. Welcome to the second hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If this is the first hour that you've heard me this morning, I want to welcome you as well. If you've never tuned into this show, a special welcome to you. I don't have any first-time listener rewards or anything, but I can tell you that it's a great place to ask a car about a question. It's a great place to ask a question about your car, and it's also a great place to talk about automobiles. As I promised earlier in today's program, Car Clinic program, I'm going to share with you the best practices for oil filter usage. And also, I'll share with you what is an oil filter. I mean, you know what it does. It filters oil, but why and what's it made of? What's inside that is filters and filters the oil? And how much does it take out? What size particles does it? How much does it block? How much pressure does it block in this doing its job? So we'll talk a little bit about that. Also, I'll share with you Tesla. Tesla thumbed up his nose at Detroit at the auto show. Well, maybe not quite thumbed his nose, but that's what the Detroit Auto Show folks think. And then I've got a Nissan 2005 Xterra, where the problem was that the all-wheel drive seems to be inoperative. And I've got Chevrolet Silverado, and your calls at 888-227-2546. The only dumb car question is one not to ask. 227-2546. What are you looking for in a car? Power, performance, endurance, better mileage? You don't need to buy a new car. Save your money for the holidays and stuff your own stocking with Denso Iridium TT Spark Plugs. The TT stands for Twin Tip, which creates the largest spark concentration and explosion, which translates to unmatched power and superior fuel economy. Now through December 30th, buy 4 Denso Iridium TT Spark Plugs at Advance Auto Parts or CarQuest and receive a $10 gift card. Learn more at densott.com. In the service bay this week, a 2002 Buick Century with intermittent misfire and stumble under load. The customer's already changed plugs and ignition coils along with fuel injectors and intake gaskets, but has the same problem. Our diagnosis? Heavy carbon deposits on the intake valve, causing fuel starvation and uneven power contribution from different cylinders. Carbon acts like a sponge, absorbing fuel and causing uneven fuel distribution and uneven power. The fix? New Fuel Pro Complete from Motor Medic. It works on both GDI and PFI engines. That's direct injection or port fuel injection. Dealerships charge upwards of $100 for this service, but Fuel Pro Complete from Motor Medic costs a fraction of that. And it treats both the air intake and the fuel system, and it's easy to use. You don't have to disassemble air intakes or worry about harming sensors. Visit FuelProComplete.com for more information, including a demo video and port locator with a list of vehicle makes and models. Stant is the expert when it comes to radiator caps, thermostats, and fuel caps, supplying manufacturers as far back as Henry Ford's Model A. For OE performance, you can trust that Stant radiator caps will deliver. Radiator caps do more than just keep coolant in. They also control pressures to stop boiling and promote proper coolant circulation. Remember to change your cap when you change coolant and insist that cap's a Stant. For instant quality, drive to Stant.com or your local retailer today. That's Stant.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Another lending success story from LendingTree.com.
Car dealers like playing games. They play percentage points, they play markups, but I don't like playing with my money. So I got my auto loan through LendingTree.com. I filled out one simple form, a marketplace of banks and lenders competed over it, and I got 4 offers back within hours. After all, the car buying game is a lot easier to win when you're holding all the cards.
LendingTree.com. When banks compete, you win. For additional information and state license disclosures, please visit our website located at LendingTree.com.
This is Willie Works.
Hello.
Back to answer all your laundry questions, like how to get out those tough embedded odors.
Like when your husband comes back from the plant. Woo! Smelling like he brought the whole place home.
Or when one of the cows escapes and you have to wrestle it to the ground. What? I think that's a good one.
They're all good ones, and I have the solution. Febreze for the wash. Just add a capful with your detergent and odors disappear.
Wow, 1 capful is all it takes?
Yep, Febreze for the wash. 1 cap, 1 wash.
And say goodbye to odors.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
Welcome back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. So what is the Cadillac converter? Oh, that is funny. So we're having a good time in the studio this morning, and I hope that you're having a great time. We're going to have, and ride along with me this hour, and let's enjoy some fun time together. Gasoline prices are down. Again and again and again, $2 and a nickel nationwide, and that's regular U.S. regular gasoline prices, and that's in every area of the country. Actually, it's lower price than it was same time last year in every region. The price is lower than it was same time last week in 9 of the 10 regions, and it's only 2 cents higher in one region. That's in New England. But everywhere else around the country, it's about as low as I started to say as low as it's going to go, but maybe not. I did have a gentleman to send me a photo this week of a couple of gas stations, and it was $1.69 and $1.70 something unleaded fuel, and I thought it was very interesting at the price of gasoline. Transportation has a lot to do with it, and obviously supply and demand. So, again, if they control the supply, then they can, and the demand is still there, and the demand's way up. We're using a lot of fuel. Anyway, we got a lot of calls, so I'm going to get right to the calls, and then I promise you that I will share with you information about the oil filter. But Mike was early to call in, and I'm really want to talk with him about this transmission. So Mike from Kansas, thanks for calling in early. You're first in, so you're first up. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Yeah, I just want to know how a CVT transmission works.
Okay. Imagine an alternator pulley that is 3 inches in diameter, and it is driven by a crankshaft pulley that is 8 inches in diameter. Obviously, for every 1 revolution the engine turns, then that alternator will turn multiple times because it has a smaller pulley. It overspeeds when compared to the engine's RPM. You picture that?
Yeah.
Now, imagine that you have a hydraulic servo and you can control the diameter of the crankshaft pulley and the diameter of the alternator pulley, and you can reverse the situation so that the crank is spinning because you've reduced it from 8 inches to 3 inches, and you've increased the alternator from 3 inches to 8 inches. Now you got to turn a lot of RPM in the engine just to get the multiples to get the alternator to turn one time. A variable transmission uses a steel corrugated belt, and it is not pulled, it actually pushes. It has little blocks, but it looks like a double row chain, if you will, like a industrial bicycle. Have you ever seen on a sliding door of a town and country van or in a factory a harness where they put wiring harness in, and it's a plastic rope that allows the wire to fold and unfold and fold and unfold? Have you ever seen that, Mike?
No.
Well, but just imagine that you've got these links, and these links are maybe 1.5 inches long or 1 inch long, and they're connected by pins, and so you've got the flexibility of a steel belt. I mean, but it's not a fiber belt; it's a steel belt, and then you have that pulley, you have that belt that is trapped within two pulleys, and whenever, and here's the important part to picture. Whenever one pulley changes the diameter, the other pulley has to change in the opposite direction so that the distance between the two remain the same. That way, the pressure and the tightness of the belt stays the same, but the speed of the driven and the driver change. So the engine goes and the wheels are going, so the wheels are going slower, because that gives you the torque multiplication. And once you get going, or as you get going, then the pulleys go in and out, i.e. they get larger and larger or smaller and smaller. And I'll tell you what's really neat. If you just took a piece of paper, and just try this, after I get off the air, draw a V on a piece of paper that's 4 inches wide at the top, and let it come together at the bottom, a V, like a victory. And that is a cross section of a pulley. Now, if you put a skinny belt in there, it's going to ride in the bottom of that V. But if you pull that V together, you push that skinny belt all the way up to the top. You picture that?
Yeah.
That's how it works. You got two.
How reliable is it?
In my book, I have a love-hate relationship for that transmission, because 30 years ago or 40 years ago, I called a friend of mine's friend, who was Don Gartlett's, and my friend here in Pensacola, Harry Schwartz, who was a brainiac, a genius of a guy, was making magnesium bodies for Don Gartlett's dragsters. And so he and Don had a great relationship. And when I found this transmission, as I remember then, it was called MAN, M-A-N. It was, it's been around for ages. And I called Don Gartlett's, and I said, "This Bobby Likis, I'm a friend of Harry's, and I've got an idea for your dragster." And the transmission, imagine that you could dial in and put down to the ground as much horsepower as possible, and then a little more, and the faster you go, the more you can put down, which is exactly what they do. And using this variable speed transmission without steps in it, without gears in it. And his first question, Bobby, I appreciate you thinking of me. How much horsepower would it handle? 4,000 horsepower. And of course, the answer was no. He said, I can't use it. So it was a pretty quick answer, but that's how long it's been around. And so at that time, I was all enamored with the transmission. And then when Chrysler came out with a Caliber, I drove a Caliber for a week. And I was so displeased with the transmission, because it made the engine made a lot of noise, and only when you backed off the throttle did it catch up and go. So they've changed it since then, and then the Nissan Murano had many problems with their transmissions. They were taking cars off the truck from the factory into the shop, pulling the transmission out, the new car, and replacing the new transmission with another upgraded transmission. And I know this because one of our ASE certified technicians formerly worked with Nissan. He said he replaced 12 units in 1 week. So were it my nickel, the later model, I'm going to say that it has to be much, much improved. And as I understand, now they're putting sort of a step feel, so you can go from one gear to the next, to the next, to the next. But make no mistake about it, a dual clutch transmission, like many use, like the Ford uses, is a superior transmission that gives you, 8, 9 speeds. And Ford has already applied for a patent for an 11-speed transmission, so that you can keep the engine in one sweet spot and keep it at same RPM. And if you want to go faster or slower, you change the gears, because you got 11 choices. It's really, really quite exciting to think about the new down-speeding, downsized engines that are running higher octanes of fuel and higher compression using turbochargers, i.e. EcoBoost engines, and they're doing this to reach the 54.5 CAFE mandate on gasoline as coming up, in the next few years. So it's a great question, and do you have any questions?
Yeah, how reliable do you think my Compass's transmission is?
They've not had many problems at all out of that transmission, but earlier on, as I spoke, the Nissan product had problems, but then again, that's 5 or 6 or 7 years ago. So as we are guinea pigs. Make no mistake about it. I mean, we are guinea pigs. The manufacturers make products that they intend to outperform their predecessors, and they don't know until those cars get on the road to what's going to happen. And you can test as many times as you want, but until you put a car into the hands of the buying public, who knows nothing about how to take care of that car, for the most part, you really don't know how tough that vehicle is going to be, or how secure that vehicle is going to be. And that's why all new cars are governed. The engines are governed in speed. The temperatures are governed. Everything's controlled so that they can try to make them last longer in spite of us as users. Hey, Mike, thanks for your call, folks. I want to come back and take Howard and Sheila's call next. 888 Car Clinic when I come back. This Tire Maintenance Minute is brought to you by General Tire and the Ultimax RT43, a smarter tire for a smarter driver. Why do vehicles come with a tire that's rated to 150 miles per hour when everyday drivers don't drive that fast? A tire's speed rating indicates the maximum speed a tire is rated to spin before failure to perform as designed. But more than that, as speed ratings increase, tires are designed to perform better during conditions such as cornering, braking, and in emergency maneuvers. That's why you may find a V speed-rated tire on a vehicle that's electronically limited to a lesser speed. For the best performance, replace worn tires with the speed rating recommended by the vehicle manufacturer. The Ultimax RT43 is a stylish, all-season tire designed for a quiet, comfortable ride. And with technologically advanced features like replacement tire monitor and visual alignment indicator, the Ultimax RT43 really is a smarter tire for a smarter driver. Learn more at GeneralTire.com. Let's go to the Car Clinic mailbag. Here's a question from Steve in Eugene, Oregon. Dear Bobby, I live in Oregon. I download all of your shows through iTunes and try not to miss a single one. As you know, there's a lot of talk about El Nino heading our way soon. I'm a loyal K&N guy and have a K&N intake system on my 96 Chevrolet Silverado. My friend said I should go back to stock because all the rain this El Nino is going to bring will cause my motor to suck in too much water. What do you think? Steve, thanks for being a regular Car Clinic podcaster. I can understand what your buddy is thinking, but the original equipment air box has a drain hole in it so water will drain out. You'll have no problem with heavy rains. Your motor will definitely not take in too much water, so don't worry, and just think about how great your truck runs on those cool, rainy days. For more information on why K&N air filters are the world's best air filters, drive to knfilters.com. That's knfilters.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Telephone tip.
From Geico Auto Insurance. When calling Geico to switch your car insurance, you will not need acetaminophen, naproxen, indomethacin, ibuprofen, a cold compress, an on-call acupuncturist, or any other pain remedy. In 15 minutes, you could save 15% or more. If it were any more painless, you could do it in your sleep, which is theoretically possible since we offer complete 24-hour service. Call 1-800-947-AUTO, 1-800-947-AUTO. Geico Direct, the sensible alternative.
Some original thinking by Starbucks barista Frank Botex.
What I love most is getting customers to smile in the morning. Starbucks is just a place to come and relax, kick your feet back. I mean, it's a second home. Starbucks is now in a grocery store, and what better way to just become your own personal barista at home? You go to the grocery store, pick up some coffee, take it home, let the aroma take over your body.
Your favorite Starbucks coffee, at grocery, at home, at last.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic, this segment. We're going to go to Sheila in South Carolina, and I'll remind you that now's the best time, a better time to call in versus waiting to the last of the program because I'll just run out of time. And so I've got plenty of time to get your calls in. And Allison will take your call and put you in the queue, and you still may have to wait 10 or 15 minutes. I'll try to, and I don't normally use the word try, but depending on the conversations that I have and how much time that it takes to properly explain a part of an automobile. So I do apologize if I seem to run on, which I've tried to make my answers shorter, but in the scheme of things, it upsets me when I ask someone, well, you got it? Oh, yeah, I got it. And then you get off the phone and say, now, what did he say? So the bottom line is, and this is not about the radio or the global cast or video cast that we're doing. This is about when you have your car serviced in a garage and you listen to what's wrong with your car and they tell you what it's going to take and how much money it's going to take, and you really don't know what's been happening because the hood's closed when you pick up the car and you pay the bill and you walk out and you just really still don't know what was done to your car, and that's your fault. It's not the shop's fault. It's your fault because you elect not to participate, not in the repair, but in the actions. So just imagine, and I may be a little overbearing, having been in the business for 44 years, but I can tell you, imagine taking your 6-year-old to a doctor, and you wait to get see the doctor, and then you wouldn't say, okay, Johnny, go with the nurse and go see the doctor. You would go with your Johnny, right? Well, you say, well, yeah. So you should feel similarly about your automobile and ask questions. And that way there are no surprises. Because even if all of us are on the same page, when you open up that operation in that vehicle, because it's an aged vehicle and because it has rusty bolts and nuts and all those sorts of things, there are going to be parts that break or that don't like to be moved to gain access to other parts. And it's not like changing the coffee table or changing the setting on a table where you take off one plate and put another plate on. You've got to remove pieces to get to pieces and parts. So that's what I try my best. Okay, Sheila, thank you for holding. It's your turn. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Thank you, Bobby. How are you doing today?
I'm doing really, really great. Thank you, and thanks for asking.
My husband has a 2000 Honda CR-V that the check engine light came on, and he took it to the shop, and they told him it was the catalytic converter. So we paid $302 and had the catalytic converter changed out, and now the check engine light is flashing. What does that mean now, Bobby?
Well, let me just share this with you. There are hundreds of systems that the computer controls within that car. The converter, the fuel injectors, the driver inputs, the speed of the car, the speed of the engine, the relative humidity, the atmospheric pressure, the timing, and I mean, so there's a lot going on in many boxes in that car. Like, there are 25 black boxes on average in every car. there's only one light. So,
right.
and because if every black box had a light, it would look like an airplane. I mean, it'd be fine with me, but it wouldn't be fine. I mean, you drive down the road and you say, "What's that flashing over in that corner? Which one? Oh, which one?" You know, and all of a sudden, visions of lights flashing in your eyes. So the manufacturer, rightfully so, has one check engine light. And so that check engine light came on because you had a catalytic converter problem, which, by the way, Sheila, could have been caused by too lean or too rich mixture or other factors. So just because you repaired the main, just because you stopped the bleeding, I mean, and think about it this way. Let's just say that you had you were losing coolant because you could see it running out under your car. So you take it to a shop, you open the hood, and you can see coolant coming out of the water pump. So you put a new water pump on it, and you put it back together, and you fill it up, and then you go and take it home. And then overnight, you still see some coolant from the engine on the floor. It's not the water pump. It's yet another part that was equally as worn. But what's the symptom? It's the same. It's got coolant leaking from the engine. Doesn't mean it's the same thing. So it's a great question that you ask, and here's the answer. The short answer. Take it back, have the same shop reconnect their scan tool and reread what is going on within the computer, and the computer would say, oh, I have this problem or I have this problem, and then let them provide you with the next steps. And if you're not sure about, if you don't trust them, then you have to get a second opinion. But in my world, it's better to stick with one service provider, because that technician, in fact, it's great to have the same technician work on your car every time at the same shop, because then that technician knows what he or she has done to your car because he recognizes the car. I mean, that's
a good idea.
Oh, it's fantastic. It really is the best of both worlds. When and I will tell you this, and I've told this to hundreds of thousands of people, You know more about your car than I. As much as I profess to know, or you think I know about automobiles, you drive that car every day, and you don't know what's wrong with it, but you know when it's not doing what it used to do, or it's doing something that it didn't used to do. You know where I'm going there? So,
oh yeah, right. I can tell.
Okay, so yeah, you can tell. You can, it's like going to I had a man call me and said I took my car to the dealer, and he said, oh, they all do that. They got a noise. It's making a noise. Really? It's making a rattling noise, and you said they all do that? And I couldn't believe it. So my suggestion to that person was go back to the dealer and go to their car lot and find one like yours and said, okay, let's go drive this car, see if it has the same noise. Duh. Well, that, yeah, but, right. And there you are. So ask questions, and I'm glad that you called me. Do you have any more questions?
All right. No, that's all I have right now. Thank you so much, Bobby. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Sheila. Appreciate your call there from South Carolina. Now we'll go to Howard. Howard, thanks for holding. Appreciate your patience, and I see that Jeff is on the line from New York. And folks, now's the time. 888 Car Clinic, 888-227-2546. Howard, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Thanks for taking the call, Bobby. I've got a 1999 Toyota van, Sienna van.
Okay.
Got 111,000 miles is all I've got on it. In the last few months, when I stop the van here in the carport and walk around the front, it sounds like I've got a low-pressure air leak coming out of the engine somewhere. Well, I've climbed all over that I can get under the hood. I can't find it. It doesn't seem to interfere at all with the engine performance. It's just, have you heard of anything like that out of these model vans?
No, but what I'm thinking...
It's like a very sound coming out out of the engine compartment.
Well,
and I'm looking for something under there that's not working right.
Well, there may be. See, that on some cars, and Toyotas, I think, and specifically, but I'm not sure about the year, there are evaporative emission systems that test after the car is shut down. I mean, it amazes me. And so you may not have an issue or a problem at all. It may just be that component is noisier than it was at one time. It may just be that you heard it for the first time and now you're aware of it, which that happens. It's like a vibration in a car. NVH, noise, vibration, and harshness, is a phenomenon that all moving vehicles have. it's like a jet, even when you have a smooth sailing, there's certain that hum, that drum, that drone, and so once you're in tune with that drone, well, it can really get to you because you know it's coming at certain speeds. And a reason this hits home with me is because I have a vibration in my car at 68 to 70 miles per hour, and it's directly affected by acceleration or deacceleration. If I deaccelerate, it goes away. Well, I know it has to do with the drive line, not tires, not wheels. It has something to do with something that's pushing something, because if you let off, and I'll let the cruise control carry my car at 68, 69 miles per hour, and as I crest a hill and the cruise just barely accelerates, I can feel this, I can feel it in the steering wheel. But as I reach the top of the crest and the cruise control backs off, still going the same speed, just no load from the engine, it goes away. So I know it's not tires, because the tires don't know that the cruise control has added another 1/4 of an inch of throttle or 1/8 of an inch of throttle. The tires don't know that. So with your van, I believe, in being a Toyota, that you could have an emissions. I got a quick question of you. Does the check engine light come on?
No.
Well,
it resets every time I change the oil and everything as necessary.
I would monitor. I would not.
I don't let it get far enough to ever come on.
Right.
When it does come on, I reset it per procedure. And no, I don't have any problem at all with check engine light in that van at all.
I would, the next time that you go into your service provider, I would ask them to look for a technical service bulletin on that issue or similar issues. And what you may find is that's just the nature of that beast, and it's really strange. But some vehicles do test for evaporative emissions after the engine is shut down by pumping controlled pressure of air into the fuel tank and the purge valves to test those valves statically.
Okay, I got two more quick questions, or one more question and a quick comment.
All right.
These variable speed transmissions that you're talking about,
yes, sir.
Nissan doesn't that remind you days of old of the Buick Dynaflow of many years gone by, where there was no lower second gear? You put it in drive and it was a single shift, and the torque converter, I believe it was, and handled the whole thing with the car. I had one of those things. And anyway,
I drove one of those things, and it was a strange. And then whenever you stepped on the throttle, it didn't necessarily go faster. It's just a weird. Yeah,
the only thing I'm asking on that, we're both on the same ballpark with the old Buicks.
Well,
the idea with the ethanol.
Yes, sir.
I've called Toyota on this, and they say absolutely nothing over 10% ethanol in that series or anything that I know of in the Toyota line. And they have no upgrade. The last I knew, they had no upgrade plan to bring the vehicle up to where you could run 85 in it. Now, same token, my brother had a Chrysler Town & Country, same year frame, same information on it. He ran ethanol 85 in it for 175,000 miles and never had a lick of problem. Who do you believe? What can you expect? What's going on?
That is an open-ended question, and we could talk for an hour and a half. The bottom line is the EPA has approved E15 for all cars and small trucks from 2001 to date and younger. So any vehicle from 2001 and forward has been tested, and we're talking millions of miles. In fact, 6 round trips to the moon, and with no problems. And I've never had a problem in my shop. I would go with the facts, and the facts is that he's not had any problems, which sort of proves itself. And folks, don't touch your dial. I'll be back. I'm Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about ethanol. The economic impact of domestic ethanol production is felt far outside the gates of the ethanol biorefinery. According to analysis from economic research firm Cardno Intrix, the ethanol industry added $42.4 billion to the U.S.'s gross domestic product, and the production of 13.9 billion gallons of ethanol supported 90,200 direct jobs and over 311,000 indirect jobs all across this country. And jobs in domestic renewable fuels production are just that, all-American jobs. Unlike outsourcing our oil needs to jobs in Saudi Arabia, Venezuela, or Canada, domestic ethanol production creates jobs that cannot be sent overseas. I'm Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about ethanol. Brought to you by the Renewable Fuels Association. Drive to ethanolrfa.org.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
You can call them used. You can call them previously driven. You can call them anything you want. The point is somebody, maybe even a dozen somebodies, owned the car before you did. And before you put down your hard-earned dollars for the car, you deserve to know exactly where it's been. Get a vehicle history report from Carfax.com. They'll give you the real history of any used car. Visit CARFAX.com or ask your dealer for a Carfax report. Don't buy a used car without Carfax.
I, Dennis Walker, pledge allegiance to the roof. I know it'll be clean. I know it will be comfortable. And I know that if the phone rings when I'm in the shower, I can just let it ring. For I have voicemail. Red Roof Inn, one room, under budget, with free cable and local calls for all.
98% of Red Roof guests are so satisfied with their visit, they plan to come back. Now that's not just loyalty, that's allegiance. For reservations, call 800-RED-ROOF.
We're a land of cynics. We don't believe anything anymore. You know why? Because we've been told we've won $1 million, that it's new and improved, that it slices and dices, that our favorite singer is still alive, that we'll be prosecuted if we cut off the tags, and of course that everything is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee. So when we hear the words customer service, we don't believe it. Travelocity isn't surprised if you're a little skeptical when they say they have excellent customer service, and that there's actually a pleasant face behind this website, a living, breathing person with a supercharged computer full of answers. Someone who's willing to help when you get lost, and most of all, someone that will actually pick up the phone when you call with a question or a concern. Customer service is just another example of how Travelocity puts you in control of travel. Chances are you'll never have to use it, but it's good to know it'll be there if you need it. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. I mentioned earlier, so I want to get this off the table now because I have other information that I shared. I promised I'd share with you. I'm going to go to Jeff next. So, Jeff, you stay right there in New York. And then, Tom, in Missouri, I'm coming to you. Tesla will skip the Detroit Auto Show. And Tesla Motors is the most recent automaker to bow out of next month's 2016 North American International Auto Show in Detroit. And Tesla, which is the California-based electric car manufacturer, joins Jaguar, Land Rover, and BMW's Mini as brands opting to drive past the 2016 show after having a presence on the main show of Cobo Center in 2015. Now, basically, why? Well, they're not there to sell cars. That's a convention. It's a trade show. And I'll skip down here, and it's setting up. And this, by the way, comes from and courtesy of Michael Wayland from the Detroit News. Setting up the multi-million-dollar stages, lighting, and displays takes 3 months. And crews started preparing the space in mid-October. Event organizers say this year's setup is particularly important, as about 75% of the show floor will be all new or significantly redesigned for the more than 40 expected worldwide debuts. The bottom line is Tesla sells cars to you and to me, and car shows are there to get to show the cars to everyone else in the industry. And also the show will open up at the end of the show from the media to the public, but by and large, seeing cars and hearing about cars on shows like mine and through the Detroit News are really what people turn to and look forward to learn about automobiles. And so for that, we're most appreciative. Let's go to Jeff in New York. Jeff, thanks for holding. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
How you doing, Bobby?
Great. Thanks for you.
I got a 97 GMC with a 7.4 454 motor.
Okay.
Hard start. I've had it in the shop. I think it's called a check valve up by the intake was leaking. They replaced that. Started great. Got it home next day, back to the hard start. Brought it back. He said it starts fine when they do it. I asked them to hold on to the truck and keep trying it. They held it for a week or so. Had no problem. Go pick it up. Starts right up. No problem. Get it home. Worked good for a day. Then and now it's back to the hard crank again. I'm thinking it's maybe a bad mass airflow sensor that's going, but they say that would have nothing to do with the starting.
That's correct, because the airflow, you see, here's what triggers it in a short version. When the engine cranks over, the crankshaft position sensor recognizes that the crank is physically turning. It sends a signal to the computer. The computer turns the fuel pump on and opens the injectors, depending on how many times the engine's turning over. And then, of course, it has other sensors that do various jobs. But that's the basis of how it starts. Now, here's the challenge. Can you give me just, in short, when it refuses to start for you, and you're not talking about cranking here, because cranking is they're like a battery. You're talking about lighting off and running.
Right.
Okay, all right.
Cranks.
Okay.
It
cranks, it just doesn't start. All right. So let's just say that
gasoline, after it does start, you smell a strong smell of gasoline.
Well, did you tell them this?
Yeah, I said it smells like, you don't smell it in the vehicle, but it's like if finally it starts and I go outside, I can smell gasoline. Like, I don't know, like maybe it's getting too much or something.
Well, there's nothing like the raw odor of gasoline if it's raw. So you could have a fuel pressure leak. The challenge with that is they should be able to see that leak in their garage as well as yours, especially. And trust me, I know many shops that have kept. In fact, my shop has kept cars for a week or two or three or even longer when we couldn't duplicate the problem. And there's nothing more confounding and perplexing than to put your effort and try to find a problem, and you think that you've got it fixed, or you can't find it, and then an owner takes it home, and lo and behold, that very same day, next day, it acts up for the owner, and that's a real challenge. You have to have patience, which sounds like you're a man that has patience, and you have to get it back to them. And with regard to the starting, okay, let me cut to the chase here. What do you do to make it start?
Well, I turn the key, let it crank, shut it off, turn it back on, let it crank again, and then usually it'll go.
Well, and the check engine light never comes on, right?
No check engine light. And when it's running, like a top. Everything drives good, idles good, temperature's good, everything's good.
You know, how long has it been since the fuel pump was replaced in that vehicle?
I don't know. I bought it secondhand. I know it's got the dual tanks, and I know he told me he recently replaced one.
Well, I just, in my own mind, you could have a pump that would be erratic in its behavior and causing that problem, or even tougher yet, you could have a relay that operates the fuel pump that could be bad that's fed by the computer, and that relay wouldn't necessarily send the check engine light on in that vehicle. So you just have to continue doing what you. I don't have a silver bullet, and I really don't know the answer to your question. I know a lot of what ifs, but you're looking for specific answers, and I would say run a pressure test on the fuel system, and ask for them to do the same on a pressure test. Residual, which means pressure in the loop after the engine is shut off, and when you first crank it in the morning, and then one more thing, Jeff. When you turn the key to the on mode, most vehicles will run the fuel pump for 3/4 of a second to prime the system. That's about it. Okay. So you might want to listen when you turn the key from off to run but not crank, to see if you have any noise from the tank. And once you hear that noise, then you listen for it, and then on the very morning that you don't hear it and it doesn't crank, you'll know that it's a fuel delivery problem. And last but not least, if it doesn't crank, you can always spray something so simple as hair spray. I wouldn't recommend that. But you could spray something that burns, like an injector cleaner, into the mouth of the engine, and if it was a fuel-related problem, it would jump to life and run. If it was an ignition problem, spraying additional fuel or something that will ignite would make no difference. You see where I'm going?
Right.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, my friend. Thanks for your call, and I wish you well. Wish you good luck.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Wish I had the answer. 888-227-2546. Tom from Missouri, you're on the air. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Thank you for holding.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
I'm glad I'm happy about the show. I just love it. I've been listening to it for a long, long time. My question is really kind of general. I have a 2008 Chevy Colorado that's not getting real good gas mileage, and I know that you have put out a website before where you can go and find that sticker number for your car.
Yes, sir.
And I was just wondering if you could, put that out again so I could write it down.
It's fueleconomy.gov.
Fueleco.gov. Okay.
And
thank you.
You're welcome, Tom. Thanks. Well, a lot of people would want to know that. And here's what's significant, and folks, for you, this website goes back to in the late 80s. So if you're looking at a used car, let's say you've got two cars in maybe the 90s or 2000s or whatever, but you're looking at two different cars and you like them equally as well, and fuel usage, gas mileage is your budget, so you want to know what the gas mileage is for those cars. Well, you can go to fueleconomy.gov and put in your year, make, and model of the car, and it will give you the original specs on what the MPG was for that automobile. Now, is it going to be perfect? No, but if car A is 15 MPG and car B is 17 MPG and car C is 22 MPG, and none of them are perfect, but they're all within a certain tolerance, it gives you an idea of what you should be getting, or if what car that you're looking at happens to fall in the bottom of the pile.
That's what I wanted to know, because I'm trying to figure out if I got a problem or not.
I got you.
Does 15 miles a gallon sound okay for this year? And
what are you driving? What are you driving?
An 08 Colorado.
Well,
it's a 4-wheel drive with that 5-cylinder engine, and I don't know what it's supposed to get, and it just doesn't seem like I'm getting good enough.
Well, go to fueleconomy.gov and see what the manufacturer states. And the real bottom line is you have to have some track record to compare the mileage you're getting today with what you got last year, and that's why it's great to keep records. A lot of people call and say, well, Bobby, my car's not working well, because I said, how do you know? Well, it runs well, but I used to go 300 miles on a tank of gas, and now I can go 214, and it's literally. So those are the kind of, I know that's a general for me.
That's the kind of thing I'm looking for, because I know, like, for the past couple of years I've been getting 17, and now I vary between 17 and 15, and between 15 and 17, and just trying to figure out if I'm driving different or what.
Well, engines do coke up, and engines do get carbon behind, like intake valves, and that's
right.
And you've heard me speak of the Fuel Pro Complete System by MotorMedic. That is a really, really neat way. And even if your car is within its segment category for MPG, but it's lower than it was a year ago, but there's no check engine light and it runs well, then you still need to clean the injection system, the fuel system, and there are two different systems. There's a wet system and the dry system. The wet system is where you add a fuel cleaner to the tank. The dry system is where you go to the mouth or the lungs of the engine. So the MotorMedic product is great. We use it, and I recommend it. So it's called Fuel Pro Complete by Motor Medic, and you can take a look at it, and you can use it yourself. There are videos online that will show you where to hook it up and how to hook it up, and it's a video for dummies, and I didn't mean to say that, but the bottom line is you don't have to be a technician to understand how to use it. Hey, good luck, my friend. Thank you so much for your call, and thanks for tuning. Our station there in Missouri has been with us a long time. Folks, I want to share with you a couple things that I promised you about the oil filter, but here's something that I found. In 1930, Ben Hirsch invented liquid auto polish in the family bathtub. I thought that was really, really a way cool. I just learned this just this morning, in fact, as I was looking for trivia. And as it turns out, it was called Plastone Auto Polish, was the first bottled car wax. And Plastone in 1946, this is 16 years later, was renamed for its hard shell finish. Now think about that. For its hard shell finish. What is hard shell? Turtle wax. Is that not the coolest thing? And then the whole history. So Turtle Wax now has one new product after another, but you get a chance, take a test drive to turtlewax.com, or just Google Turtle Wax and see what products that they offer for you so that you can keep your car looking younger. Okay, I promised you best practices for oil filter usage, and Chuck called in earlier, and then we lost him. Storage. Filters can fail long before they are to be used for their intended purpose. Therefore, proper filter storage and handling are essential. Ensure the filters are kept clean, cool, and dry, and always follow the first in, first out rule. Now, what does that mean to you? It doesn't mean anything, because you don't stock 1,000 filters on the shelf. You buy a filter for your car if you're a do-it-yourselfer, or you hope that the shop that's changing your oil and filter is using a fresh filter, but it's something that you never think about. Well, let me tell you this. There are 3 primary types of filter media. That's the stuff inside that does the filtration. Cellulose, that's comprised of wood pulp with large fibers and an inconsistent pore size. So the porosity of that wood pulp is all different sizes. So if you got a deal on an oil and filter change and they're using a white box filter out of China, you never know what it's filtering. You could call it a filter, but you couldn't say it was doing its job. So stick with the brands that you know. Also, fiberglass synthetic is comprised of smaller man-made glass fibers and more consistent pore size. And then composite is comprised of a combination of cellulose and fiberglass material. Fast forward to best practices. According to this article, avoid pre-filling. In most cases, you do not want to pre-fill your oil filters before installation. In diesel engines, it's recommended that a pre-lube system be installed instead in order to counteract changes from dry start conditions. I just thought that would really be interesting as well. And I'd like for you to tune in next week to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. In the meantime, go to our Pinterest board, pinterest.com/Bobby Likis, Likis, and take a look at the 96 Mustang Cobra that we've worked on this week for grease leaking from the inside of the wheels. Fantastic work. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you next week.
This is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
From the Car Clinic inbox, Jason in Dallas writes, Bobby, the battery in my 2012 Honda just died. I hear you talking about Power Frame. Is this a battery you recommend, and where can I get it? Jason, Power Frame isn't actually a battery brand. Power Frame is the type of grid technology inside select automotive batteries. Why are grids so important? The positive grid provides the energy necessary to start your car, and corrosion of this grid is the #1 cause of battery failure. Power Frame grids are different because the patented grid pattern is optimized optimized for consistent and superior starting power. The manufacturing method and material composition used to produce power frame grids result in increased durability and corrosion resistance. In fact, they're 66% more durable than other grid designs like book mold or expanded metal. You can find power frame grid technology inside Autocraft Gold and Platinum AGM and CarQuest Silver, Gold, and AGM batteries at your local Advanced Auto Parts and CarQuest stores. For more about power frame grid technology, drive to powerframe.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Rosie Outfitters, I'm Tina. How can I help you?
I'd like to place an order.
Great. Which item?
The cotton roll neck sweater, large.
Okay. Periwinkle loaded or caramel?
The caramel, please.
The what?
I'd like it in caramel.
Oh, the caramel?
Yeah, that's what I said, Tina.
Actually, you said caramel when it's pronounced caramel.
Can't we just call it yellow?
No.
Everyone knows the best part of a Milky Way. They just don't know how to say it. After all, it's our caramel.
It's caramel.
Ugh, that makes a Milky Way great.
You start my morning, you stir in my soul, you warm my heart, make me feel whole. Your aroma calls me, starts my morning, happy morning. Your name is Folgers Mountain Grown, now you're here.